Hi, I'm Mike Zaida, and today's presentation is entitled Much Ado About DeepSeek. I'm going to put up my slides and share those with you and move on. All right, I've got to hit play. Okay, Much Ado About DeepSeek. This is the My Next column for IEEE Computer Magazine, and it has been submitted and waiting for them to typeset it and get me back the proofs. All right. Today is the 7th of February, 2025, and everyone's talking about DeepSeek. So this is a very short talk to tell you about what is going on. So in this column, I try and make some sense of the fear of China's DeepSeek model, as well as reiterate that we all become useless in 2026, 2027, if we don't stop the machines. Okay. So in a previous paper, I pointed out that the field of computer science is pretty global, that our technical papers are published and available to anyone who wants them. Now they're all on the internet, so the only thing that can really be blocked during Cold War 2.0 is specialized hardware to China and its surrogates. But not software. Anyone can replicate software with the right BS, MS, or PhD in computer science. Also in that previous paper, software and the algorithms underneath cannot be blocked during a Cold War, especially since the country that sends the most graduate students to the computer science and electrical engineering programs in the United States is China, with some departments in those fields being 80 to 85% People's Republic of China nationals. And the only way you can block this technology transfer is to provide permanent visas or citizenship to those students upon graduation so that they stay in the United States. And my feeling is we should do that for anyone from any country who has completed a master's or PhD in those fields in the United States. Or they will go home to China or wherever and build their own version of that software to great and brilliant acclaim. That reference is to the South China Morning Post, where there is a very interesting article lauding the Chinese who built this at the DeepSeek company. And that acclaim comes even if the new version is built on top of something that was previously open source, like OpenAI. Title, Much Ado About Nothing. It is important to note that the title of this article is in homage to the Shakespeare play Much Ado About Nothing, which came out in 1598 in Stratford-on-Avon, which I evidently have a number of relatives who were there in the time of Shakespeare, where according to Wikipedia, noting, sounding like nothing, and meaning gossip, rumor, or overhearings, is exactly the right sentiment for an explication of the DeepSeek state. Here is what we are going to be nothing about. Of course, I always start out with this mind map, and you can go look at it in the paper. It's just there to say, I organize my thoughts, put them out here, and then turn it into text. And now the gossip, rumor, overhearings about DeepSeek R1 in this next section are derived from a 30th of January 2025 post on LinkedIn by Steve Norrie, one of my favorite posters on LinkedIn, and the DeepSeek FAQ. I've turned Norrie's text into part of the mind map of Figure 1 and then added into the mix other gossip, rumor, overhearings, and 2 to complete the nothing. In 5, Nuri starts out by telling us that previously unknown to us startup, DeepSeek, had just announced that they had built a reasoning AI model that competes with OpenAI's best for 1/1000th the cost. This normally wouldn't have caught anyone's attention, except that it erased $2 trillion in market cap on NASDAQ, 500 billion of which was NVIDIA's. And all of the market lemmings assumed that since the Chinese startup had built it all for just $6 million, that we no longer needed much in the way of NVIDIA hardware or much of the OpenAI request for $500 billion to build their next model. Silicon Valley was streaming tears over this nothing. Nuri compared OpenAI's GPT-4 development cost of $600 million plus training cost against the announcement from DeepSeek that their total cost was $6 million. that OpenAI's model was not open source, and that DeepSeek's model was open source and made from an earlier OpenAI model when it was still open source, according to Vinod Khosla on an X post on the 3rd of January 2025. So the sky was falling in Silicon Valley bigly. So with DeepSeek saying that it was 27 times cheaper than OpenAI's models and cheaper to build and cheaper to run, everyone wanted to hire consultants to ask them the crucial question, should they pull the plug on Silicon Valley's AI efforts or stand pat, where our guys over here outsmarted by a Chinese development effort? Maybe it was time to stop the Cold War with China over tech transfer before we get locked out. DeepSeek is already on Amazon Web Services and on Apple's iOS, and the sky is still falling. Well, remember, the title of this column is Much Ado About DeepSeek. I put out some feelers to friends inside of some of the largest AI companies in Silicon Valley, and they all came back with, this is a whole lot of freaking out about nothing. Well, my title is perfect. The scaling laws have been predicting that this would be possible for years. So that is somewhat of an obfuscation. But maybe the only news story is that a Chinese company did it. As I started this column, I told you that that kind of software development is pretty likely, seeing that we are educating Chinese students here in the United States, and they are some of our absolute best students. There are some other things that I found out, and this is important. DeepSeek forgot to include the hardware costs. According to Dario Amodei, DeepSeek did their work using $1 billion worth of NVIDIA hardware, some 50,000 Hopper chips, H100s, H800s, and H20s, and now these are older chips and run slower than the current generation of NVIDIA hardware, but that $1 billion has to be added into the DeepSeek development costs. In 3, which is entitled On DeepSeek and Export Controls, there are some great summary comments by Dario Amodei on this in his article entitled On DeepSeek and Export Controls. Of course, the 3 crucial paragraphs are the following. Thus, I think a fair statement is DeepSeek produced a model close to the performance of US models 7 to 10 months older for a good deal less cost, but not anywhere near the ratios people have suggested. R1, which is the model that was released last week and which triggered an explosion of public attention, including a 17% decrease in NVIDIA stock price, is much less interesting from an innovation or engineering perspective than V3. It adds the second phase of training reinforcement learning described in 3 of 3 in the previous section, and essentially replicates what OpenAI has done with O1. They appear to be at similar scale with similar results. These will perform better than the multi-billion models that were previously planning to train, but they'll still spend multi-billions. That number will continue going up until we reach AI that is smarter than almost all humans at almost all things. All right. If you are going to use export controls in your title, you are reaching back to locking the barn door after the cows have escaped argument with respect to DeepSeek and NVIDIA hardware. But Amodei comes back on this to my point. The performance of DeepSeek does not mean the export controls failed. As I stated above, DeepSeek had a moderate, only 50,000 chips, too large number of chips. So it's not surprising that they were able to develop and then train a powerful model. They were not substantially more resource constrained than US AI companies, and the export controls were not the main factor causing them to innovate. They are simply very talented engineers and show why China is a serious competitor to the United States. Amodei and I agree that Chinese engineers most likely trained in the United States are great engineers and capable competitors. And China has 12 times the number of engineers we have in the United States, working at 1/3 the cost of engineers here. And this is my comment from my experience consulting in China. Open source models are surpassing proprietary ones. And Jan LeCun, who's the chief AI scientist at Meta, said the following on LinkedIn on that same day. To people who see the performance of DeepSeek and think China is surpassing the United States in AI, you're reading this wrong. The correct reading is open source models are surpassing proprietary ones. So it's all down to the issue of open source and why globally we all should have that for our critical AI systems so that we can all just get along. Being a Los Angeles native, I have to use that quote. There's some great and thoughtful things in Amadeus' paper that I find amazing. This paragraph in particular, making AI that is smarter than almost all humans at almost all things will require millions of chips, tens of billions of dollars at least, and is most likely to happen in 2026 and 2027. DeepSeek's release doesn't change this because they're roughly on the expected cost reduction curve that has always been factored into these calculations. Again, they don't have enough chips. They don't have the millions of chips. They have 50,000 chips. That's a much smaller number. So we have rationale to continue to fund the development of these large models in the United States and their required large hardware, along with their nuclear power plants, so they can run that hardware and its air conditioning and continue the warming of the Earth. That's my commentary, sorry. So in 2026, 2027, we will have AI that is smarter than almost all humans at almost all things, and we all become useless. And the AI will write my columns while I swim. Is that a bleak or happy future? Depends on how much you like swimming. Here are my references. My paper from September 2024, Generative AI Changes the World, maybe. Two is DeepSeek FAQ. I suggest you go look at that link. It's pretty helpful to tell you the latest things they have learned about DeepSeek. Darrow Amadeus on DeepSeek and expert controls is up online as well, so that the people at DeepSeek can read it. Okay. Much Ado About Nothing, Shakespeare, 1598, Wikipedia. I downloaded information on the 6th of February, 2025. DeepSeek R1, a Chinese AI startup, is derived from Steve Norrie's LinkedIn post on the 30th of January, 2025. My YouTube channel I referenced because this video is going to be on that YouTube channel, but it's also where you can go see the consulting that I did in China over the last 10 years. Jan LeCun, his comment was on LinkedIn 30th of January 2025. All of these people are connected to me on LinkedIn, and they put out wonderful immediate comments when big news happens. Two articles from the South China Morning Post, Understanding DeepSeek's Impact on U.S.-China Relations, and Is China's DeepSeek Moment a Chance to Transform into an Open Source Nation? Which is asking the question, should China become an open source nation? And the answer is, of course it should. And we should welcome it. Acknowledgements. The author wishes to thank those readers who have gotten to the end of the bi-monthly column without finding all of the deliberate and accidental errors. And I apologize for my personal commentaries, but I think they are very important for our futures. And I look forward to being less than fully useless in 2026 and 2027, and maybe swim in contests once again. If you've got any questions, this is my email. That's my website. You'll find links to this printed paper when it is finally typeset by IEEE. The draft PDF is already up there now. This video will be up there shortly. Anyway, this has been the Games column for IEEE Computer, and this is the Mike Zaida YouTube channel version of that Games column. You have a great day. I will stop sharing the slides and wish you have a great day. My name is Mike Zaida, and it is a beautiful day outside, so go outside. Bye-bye.